Jim McQueeny is joining us here at the table on this Friday morning, talking some politics, specifically the race for mayor in New York City. Let's dive right into how this is shaping up, because it's really a tale of potentially two very different kinds of races. Socialist Democrat Zoran Mamdani, we know he's holding a double-digit lead, but that's if the race stays a four-man contest with former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, incumbent Mayor Eric Adams, and Republican Curtis Lewa. But here's the difference. In a head-to-head race just with Cuomo, a New York Times poll shows Mamdani would only lead Cuomo by 4 points. So, we still have to see how this shakes out. Is everyone staying in the race or not? That's a big question. But what's your take on how different those numbers look depending on how many are actually staying in the race?
Yeah, well, look, there's a lot of time left. There's a lot of room, if you will, to play here. But Mamdani has really solidified his support, and it's an increasing support right now. And if you add Adams, the incumbent mayor, to Cuomo on those numbers, if they were to get out, and that's a whole other issue, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't come up close enough right now. And it's not an issue of 4 points. There's another poll that people don't follow, and it's called the sentiment poll. Mm-hmm. How do people feel? Not how they're going to vote or what they tell pollsters, how they feel. And they feel they want change. And that's what helped elect Trump. 77 million people voted for change as well as Trump. And Harris didn't make an argument for change. She, in fact, defended the status quo. So you see here the sentiment that's underlying the public polls. They want change. Is Cuomo the change agent? He personifies status quo. So when you look at where the growth is going to go, where the sentiment is going to be come November 4th, you're really looking at something that they want change. And Mamdani, is being pilloried by the New York Post, for instance, the big paper there, where they call it, a communist practically on here, right? But it doesn't matter. And this is a blue-collar newspaper, by the way, talking about blue-collar issues. Mm-hmm. So one of the issues here is what happens if somebody gets out? There's a lot of talk about that Adams might get out. I don't know. Somebody's going to throw him in ambassadorship.
Trump might offer him a job. Right.
Yep. Take him out. It's not going to happen. And one of the reasons here is that, you're looking at this sentiment thing that's out there. But even Adams, if he gets out, it's not transferable. He was down in the 4% or whatever it was, 9% in that tally you talked about, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas 4 points if they collapse. He's just. He can't get out. It's Lewa.
Yeah, but Jim, right? Jim, hold on. Here's what I want to know, because you're such an old hand at this, and you've been so steeped in this political racket for so long. Does Trump, by meddling, does he want Eric Adams to get out? And if that's the case, just help me with the strategery. Does he want Mamdani to win so that he can be a foil against Trump for the next however many years?
Allison, 100%. Everybody's playing with this thing about trying to get Cuomo in and stuff like that, especially the developer interests in New York, where they've just basically are funding an independent expenditure thing that's going on against Mamdani. Whether it happens or doesn't, but they're really alarmed about rent control and rent freezes, But Trump, Allison, you're 100% correct. He has, let's say what the New York Post calls it, a communist in New York. And for the midterms in a year from November here, they can run that thing from here to kingdom come. And it would be a profitable thing for them to do politically. So I don't understand personally this whole thing about trying to get him out of the race, to help Mamdani. It doesn't make sense. It makes political sense, exactly what you said.
We also saw this week a bunch of corporate leaders, real estate guys, having this cabal, this backroom meeting. They're emerging. They're saying, we're behind Andrew Cuomo. We're going to get Mamdani out of the race. Couldn't this possibly backfire and actually boost Mamdani?
Well, it'll be interesting because I had breakfast with somebody who was a part of that just the other day, this week, in fact. And he was telling me that they all met and they all were told to sort of be ready to write checks. And there was talk about they could raise $24 million. And these people are property developers, big landlords around the city, and they don't want to see this rent freeze that's going to hurt their return of capital, right? It's classic capitalist thinking, nothing wrong with that, but capitalist thinking, and they're posing it as communists versus capitalists on this thing. That's how desperate they are to do this. Is it going to work? It's not working so far. And, Mondani is actually seen favorably by more people than Cuomo was favorably. That's a whole different thing than would you vote for him favorably. So he's actually drifting to something that's actually pretty strong for him.
Do you think Cuomo is regretting this decision to get into this race, that he can't overcome, the legacy of his time as governor and having to leave in disgrace?
Well, Jim, despite what we say,
yeah.
you're only going to regret it if you lose, right? Mm-hmm. Right now he's losing, but he hasn't lost, right? So one of the things behind the scenes is that Adams is not going to get out. The word on the street is Cuomo promised him way back he would not run against him. And this is a thing where he welched, according to Adams, and Adams will not get out for a personal reason on here. And ambassadorship to Saudi Arabia or not, he's not going to get out, as people say. Other people tell the New York Times that he is going to do this. But I hear on the street that basically he's so wounded by this betrayal, he's going to stay in. And tough stuff.
Yeah. Big egos involved, obviously.
Double-crossing politics. Yeah. Shocking.
All right. Right. Thanks, Jim. We appreciate you being here on this Friday morning.